Okay, so we are live on Facebook here, and we are with my good friend Gary Frankie. Gary,
Hello, nice to talk with you all.
yes. So why don't you introduce who you are, what you do, and what's going on? I know you're a smart dude, so
Yeah,
tell us.
so I own an insurance agency in Bellevue, Achieve Alpha Insurance, and my core area that I work in is individual health insurance. So I'm an expert at the health plan finder. So people need health insurance or have questions. I've literally called through about 1,200 clients in the last month and just getting input on people and like what their business is going through and how things are going. So one of the things we do is we're lowering people's income. If they're making less, they pay less on the health exchange. So we're really being proactive to help people get ahead of this and lower their premiums on their health insurance.
Well,
So
if somebody has lost the income due to COVID situation, you could probably get them better bill on the health insurance, right? As well.
yeah, what we do is if your income went from $5,000 a month to $2,000 a month, um, a lot of times your income doesn't go to zero. So even if you're self-employed, you're going to be eligible for up to $600 per week for up to 13 weeks under the program that passed. You want to apply through the Washington State unemployment system. It'll report you getting $0 because you're not eligible for state unemployment, but for federal unemployment, from my understanding, seeing some blogs, it should kick in the next 2 weeks or so.
Oh,
Retroactive to when if your business is totally shut down, you can get some. If it's not shut down or partially, I don't know in those situations.
got it. Got it. So, Gary, what about, I mean, people heard about the small business loan, programs to help business owners, to get them going somehow or get them to survive. So, what are the programs are there available that you're aware of that you can share with people, especially small business owners? That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, we're going to talk only about small business owners right now.
Yeah.
So the biggest one is the Paycheck Protection Act. Essentially, you primarily want to go through your current business relationship, the bank you go to. Some banks are going to be better or worse. I have a friend that's an expert in SBA lender, so she gave me some tips. My bank, I do my banking at Wells Fargo for my business. They were not doing it right now. So I walked across the street and went to Wells Fargo or to KeyBank.
Uh,
Yesterday I applied, but what it is, I have some personal accounts at KeyBank, but anybody can just walk into a KeyBank, open up a business checking account, and
okay.
then it took me 15 minutes to apply for the program but I had all my other documents in a row.
Got it. Got it. What about if you don't have, let's say I don't have an account with Wells Fargo, can I just apply at Wells Fargo or I have to be at the bank where I bank? Because I bank at Bank of America.
Um, I don't know if Wells Fargo is doing the program right now quite yet. I went to KeyBank. You do not have to have a prior relationship with KeyBank. I did not on a business perspective. But they let me set up a business checking account. You need your incorporation documents, and I wrote a $50 check to open the account. Something important that one of my SBA lender friends told me or suggested was opening up a second account that's totally for this. So for my business, you get 2.5 times generally what your 2019 W-3 income. W-3 income, I'm a S corporation, so I pay myself a salary and have 2 full-time employees. So you take your salary you paid in the box 1 of your W-3, which is the accumulation of your W-2s, you divide it by 12 for monthly times 2.5 months. You have up to 8 weeks to pay salaries from that account. I'm not using my regular business account. This way, I'm going to write all of my business salary checks from this separate KeyBank business account because you need to verify at the end of 8 weeks that you actually paid salaries, nothing else, from my understanding.
Well, let me get this straight. So the programs that are currently available, let's say you were independent contractor, like 1099, like let's say you're a real estate broker in the state of Washington, like you are, for example, okay? I know you own an insurance agency, but you're also a licensed broker. So if, let's say you were a licensed broker on a commission, how do you get paid? I mean, what's the best way for you to get some of this money from the 2
It'll
trillion?
be a similar program for people that are 1099 as well. I'm not 1099 per se. I pay myself a distribution above my base income. But essentially, you might want to talk to your accountant to get the documents before you apply, because they're going to ask for the documents immediately to upload to the system. So you need to have all your incorporation documents and your 2019 average income that you paid yourself. However, your accountant recommends you do that.
So what I looked at if we're not talking about the disaster loan for $10,000. Well, right now it's actually up to 10,000. Key word here is up to. So it doesn't mean you're going to get 10,000. But what I looked at the Paycheck Protection Program and when I applied, basically, few things that you need to have is 940 from last year, Form 940, showing how much income was actually paid out. It's best if you, let's say if you're, running a business, if you're a real estate broker, it's best to have set it up as S corp, from what my accountant told me.
Yes, you get a little bit better benefit in general.
And you can show the distribution of the salary. So basically, just because you're a real estate agent, you can still pay yourself a salary. That's basically it. When you pay yourself a salary, you are your own employee.
Most people don't do it that way, though.
As they should, though.
If you make above about 80,000 or 100,000, you should be an S corporation for most self-employed people.
Exactly, and the best way to do it is just to pay yourself salary, draw the salary, and that way, when stuff like this happens, like it happened right now, obviously it's you can basically say, hey, I'm an employee of my own corporation, and here's my income that needs to be paid out. So you'll get 2.5 times of that amount from the government. What about you mentioned that you went through with an accountant through this thing, and you found something that may be helpful, or some tricks to make it more to make it better at getting this loan. What is it? Could you share it?
So I talked with my accountant like a week or so beforehand. So they're going to want to see your W-3 document if you're paying yourself a salary for yourself and your employees. So they're going to take the salary for last year.
Okay.
Specifically, if you have employees from that perspective. But for this, the money can be up to 100% forgiven, as long as you spend at least 75% on payroll. I'm going to spend 100% on payroll, just during that time period at least. The one kicker is they give you 2.5 times salary to pay payroll in an 8-week period, so 2 months essentially. So you can have extra money left over. I'm probably just going to give my employee an extra bonus because I'm getting some of the money for free essentially. So I'm going to pass that some on to my employees. So that's how I'm going to at least raise it that way. So
good. And Gary, you haven't laid off anybody, right?
I have not. No.
That's another thing, guys. If you are a small business owner and if you think you're going to get this Paycheck Protection Program money and lay off your employees, you're not going to be able to use the money. So make sure
Some people were reducing their employee salary. They're cutting in half temporarily. And then once they get the funds, then they're going to raise their income again. That way they didn't lay off anybody because they weren't quite sure on how the program worked. I have a couple friends that own larger dealerships and stuff like that for cars and RVs.
Okay. And have you heard about unemployment for 1099 employees? Because basically people who are listening to us right now, probably small business owners or real estate brokers. And have you heard of any unemployment? I heard they can apply for unemployment, especially real estate agents who do not have any income right now because of the COVID situation. They can apply and actually, get some money through
My
unemployment.
friends that have done it, they said they've applied through the Washington State unemployment system, and it shows zero benefit because they don't get the state. But they'll get the federal up to $600 a week for up to 13 weeks, I believe.
Oh, they get a federal unemployment, right?
Yeah, other people on unemployment get the state unemployment and federal. So,
and real estate people will probably get.
Some people can actually make more money by being on unemployment if got laid off than their actual job. So that might be a.
Yeah, and I think that's what the Redfin actually did right now. If you heard yesterday, they furloughed about 41% of their agents because all their agents were on payroll, and because those agents will be making actually more money on unemployment than they will be making with Redfin showing homes.
Isn't that normally how much they make? I'm joking.
Well, it's that. We're not going to insult anybody here, Gary. You know,
So
but
I want to go into another program that came out yesterday. So last night, Jay Inslee came out with a program where if you have 10 or fewer employees, you
Mhm.
can apply for up to $10,000 grant that you do not have to pay back. I'm
Free,
literally in the process of almost finishing. I'm going to submit it right after this meeting.
free money.
And the one thing about it is you cannot pay any salary out of that. So from that perspective, it's one of those where you have to use it for marketing or advertising or other things other than salary. So when you're going through that process,
Question here.
the PPP is for salary only, and this program can be for other stuff like rent and
So,
marketing and
question from Mila. Mila's asking, what about agents who work part time? If they have another job, can they apply for this program as a real estate agent only? Uh,
I don't know if you have your own corporation. Um, Essentially, you're an employer of one. You could probably apply for the program. And what you have to do is go through the case that goes through the example of what is your income? What is your economic loss? What's the reason for the loss? How much do you anticipate losing? I'm not going to go into my specifics exactly, but I'm definitely not going to lay off my employee tomorrow. So you don't have to worry about that.
so could you share that link for the Jay Inslee's program on the chat here so people can see
Yeah,
that?
I'll go grab it here real quick.
And those who are not who haven't joined us on the webinar, which they should, but watching us on Facebook, we're going to share it in the Facebook. As soon as Gary shares it here, I'll share it in the bottom of in the feed in the Facebook, so people can actually go there and apply. So bottom line is, guys, if you are a small business owner, like most of us are, you can apply to get some help from either federal or state government. So here's, so
The other program I wanted to talk about briefly was the federal disaster loan program,
what
where you
is
can
it?
get up to $10,000.
Okay.
I've been following a lot of different blogs, and so I don't know how accurate some of this is, but they say now it's up to $1,000 per employee,
That's what
essentially, federal. And if you applied on the paper version, from what I've been told, is you want to go through and apply on the online program. And it holds your place in line, apparently, because you're going to get two different numbers, but they will reconcile at some point from that perspective. So, because they have it more streamlined, automated online now rather than a paper version they had before. Another thing is that one does impact, or they do pull your credit. So if your credit is lower for now, one thing you may want to do is get the PPP loan. You have to use it for salary, but the other money in your business you can use for other purposes. So if your credit is a little low, that you may not be able to get the disaster loan program.
So they do pull your credit for the
For the
disaster
disaster loan, but not the PPP program. That one's just,
to be repaid. That one.
yes, that is a loan program.
So it has to
And
be repaid where the PPP is totally forgivable, right?
it can be up to forgivable. If people use it for the wrong purposes, they may have to owe part or all of it back. I believe the interest rate on the PPP is 1% and the loan program is 4%.
Got it. Oh, it's pretty, yeah. Yeah, got
Another
it.
thing is a lot of the banks are doing a program. So if you're a member of BECU and you have, okay credit at least, you can
Mhm.
apply for up to a $2,500 loan for up to 2 years at 0%. It's a pretty easy process. If you're a member of KeyBank, I have some personal accounts at KeyBank, but people can apply for up to $5,000 for up to 3 years at 3%.
So here's the thing, though. I mean, I've read that do not go to the branch or financial centers because they don't know anything yet, or that they won't be able to process your application. It has to be done online. So here's how I did it. I bank with Bank of America for my business, and I just got an email from them say, "Hey, since you're a business customer, why don't you apply? Here's a link." And I submitted the information, and boom, then I got yesterday a request for additional documentation. So yesterday I uploaded additional documentation. Now it's a waiting game. Got to see what's up. So is this your experience, Gary, as well?
Yeah, that's pretty much the same process for those other banks, and from what my clients have told me. So I've talked with, several hundred people in the last month, and the last week or so, more of these programs are coming on. So I would just keep on checking back with your current bank. I have some banking relationship at 4 different banks, or at least in the past. That way it gives me some fluidity between different, things and relationships with different people. So I have a couple different things, one at some different places, just, not necessarily for reasons like this, but it gives you more access. Because if one bank screws you over, and then at least you can kind of shift gears and you already have some accounts there to leverage to get some of the other programs maybe.
Got it. Got it. So usually people, the ones we're dealing with mostly is they don't have people on payroll, and apparently they cannot apply for PPP, and some of them don't even have themselves on their own payroll. So the best course of action for them to get some of this money going is to apply for a disaster loan, right? And you got to have good credit for that.
Well, you have to have at least, okay, I believe under the PPP program, you can still apply if you're self-employed. So my dad owns a business and he has an ATM business. His volumes are down literally 90%. So he's going to be applying for the program as well. It's just a little bit different process.
Okay, so guys, keep in mind, if you are your own business person, if you're self-employed, why don't you go ahead and apply? So if, like Mila's question, she's a real estate broker, go ahead and apply with your bank through the PPP. If you have a business account, it's better to do that. And that way you'll find out either yes or no. It never hurts to ask. That's my take on this. As far as the unemployment goes, as far as filing for unemployment, you can, as a real estate agent, if let's say you cannot show homes right now, let's say, even though we're considered to be essential, but business is down because of this COVID situation, so you can go ahead and apply for federal unemployment and get up to $600 a week. However, keep in mind, folks, that let's say you're a part-time real estate agent and you work somewhere else part-time where you're still getting paycheck. At that point, you're not considered unemployed. You are employed because you have another job. Same thing. If you, let's say, real estate agent and you cannot get business right now, you're filing for unemployment, you pick up a job of driving Uber, you're no longer unemployed. So just keep that in mind. As soon as or let's say you have a closing in a pipeline that's coming up, as soon as you get that commission check, you're not longer unemployed. So keep that in mind, guys.
And they may adjust things over time. So the key thing is just stay on top of things. And, if you have any doubt, it might be good just to apply for the program. The worst thing they can do is say no. So if you have a little bit of time on your hands, might as well do something productive.
Exactly. Those who have time on their hands, man, I envy you.
Pavel, I'll send you stuff going forward so that way you can repost things, because I'm putting together some more documents as things come through.
If you actually have any questions about getting the health insurance or anything like that, why don't you hang out? Why don't you hit up Gary Frankie? He's on Facebook, Gary Frankie, and he can get you set up with medical insurance. What else you do? What kind of insurance you do?
We have 14 auto insurance and homeowners insurance. If you're selling a house, we can can get the homeowners insurance quote.
What about business insurance?
Our agency can help with business insurance. I do life insurance. I have 2 other employees, so we all focus on different areas within our agency. And then they just open up enrollment until May 8th. So if you do need health insurance, reach out and I can help you get set up on the health plan finder. There's a workaround. You have to file a ticket and, essentially get your account opened up during the special enrollment period.
Obamacare? That's what it is?
What's that?
Is that the one with Obamacare? No?
Yeah, it's the Washington Health Plan Finder. So through the health exchange, we can get people plans, just like, a plan that you're on for your family.
Well, folks, we're going to keep it fairly short, but unless you have any questions, we will just wrap it up because I don't want to bore people with this, but it's very straightforward. If you are, self-employed and if you have employees where you're your own employee, you need to apply for the PPP. Or if you're self-employed, you also should do that and apply for a disaster loan as well. It's a COVID disaster loan with an SBA. Also keep in mind that you can do an unemployment as well. Those who actually have employees or your own employee, it's best if you have your spouse on your payroll as well. Okay, and I'll explain to you why. You can either apply for your spouse as well as a as an employee and get paycheck protection for her or for him, or you can just lay your spouse off and that spouse can apply for unemployment. But you cannot do both. Just keep that in mind. All right. So, all right, I'll just wrap it up. Gary, I have a few more questions after we're done. I want to reach out to you. We'll just chat. Okay.
Sounds good. I'll talk to you later.
All right, buddy. Bye bye.